The Chicago Cubs dropped 2-3 to the Milwaukee Brewers in Brewtown. Does this mean their season is history? The White Sox failed to sweep the bad Colorado Rockies while playing extra innings. Ugh, good grief. The NBA and NHL free agencies are pending and moving right along. The USA Women's Olympic trials are finished, and we'll have a special edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more as this Monday edition of Second City Sports, kicking off the month of July, starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow your Shirley on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my King McGee on the Twitter, X, the Kids Cooking, and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I give the king the full powers to give you fools to be able to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must mention you can get Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download the Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just hit up the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And it's July 1st, so we'll provide you some of the best here on Second City Sports. You're going to be listening to us or watching us for the first time. You got to take that whole week off for the 4th. We're welcome to you guys. And, of course, tell your friends about us. And also, too, of course, we're going to talk the free agent frenzy that's going on in both the NBA and NHL. Some new faces and new places, and even some old faces coming back in some cases. So we'll have that coming up. Of course, later on in the next hour, we'll have Old School TV Monday, and so much more. And also, too, the Olympic trials are over with. So we got some teams and some names to watch for in both track and field and in gymnastics. So we'll talk about all that coming up. But first, Sid, some baseball this weekend. The Cubs lose 2-3 to the Brewers. The Friday game, that was not a good game, kind of a microcosm of what the Cubs have been through this season. Now Saturday's game, okay, which was more like I thought, okay, maybe the Cubs can perhaps maybe take, just a steal, kind of got fired up, everyone fired up. You thought that okay, this could be the start of something. Coming to yesterday's game, and of course, back to exactly what, unfortunately, Kyle Hendricks, went back to the Kyle Hendricks we were seeing earlier this year, and, giving up a lot of runs and such. So now they're 12.5 back, I guess, from the Cubs are from the Central. They're still kind of like hanging on right there in the NL wild card. I don't want to say it's over with Sid, but I think it's making it harder and harder. Of course, injuries and inconsistencies. It's just frustrating at this point for the Cubs as a Cubs fan.
Now, I did say on Friday the Cubs were going to get swept, that the hopes for the division is over. I hate using this term, but that's still my I'm not going to use that term, but that's still my opinion after what I saw yesterday. Shout out to Freddie Peralta of Milwaukee. He had 8 strikeouts in 7 innings, and he retired the last 14 Cubs batters before he exited the 7th inning. But after the first inning, Lakina, after their leadoff home run by Nico Horner, they did get one more hit in that first inning. But after that, they were shut out as far as hits were concerned. After I saw what I saw yesterday, you can forget about the division, Lakina. We've seen miracles happen before in baseball where teams have overcome double-digit deficits to win the division to qualify for the playoffs. But what evidence do you have from the mint and blue that will give you confidence that they can overcome this deficit to even make this a division race with Milwaukee? Outside of Saturday's game, I didn't see it. Friday's game, they had the chance to win, but they didn't do it. Saturday's game, they damn near blew that. And that's why Justice still was fired up. I'll get to my commentary on that in just a second. But yesterday's game, they really didn't show anything. I'm not going to sit here and say they were dead men walking, but after I saw what I saw yesterday, the hopes for the division title is over. Now
It
you
was
just
just a,
barely hanging on in a wild card race, and if we see the standings here less than 2 weeks going into the All Star break, I'm not going to sit here and say the Cubs should sell, but you really have to take a long, hard look if you're Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins, because this is unacceptable. I hear some people say, "Well, Craig Counsell's got to get in front of the cameras and basically pull a Mike Dicker." He could do that from here to whenever. That's not going to help this Cubs team, Lakina. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're dead men walking, but they're pretty damn close.
and that's never been his personality. He's not the kind of guy that's gonna swear and throw things. That's just never been. Even if you saw him play, that was never his personality. So if he does that, then that's not like, okay, yeah, that you're doing too much now. Again, we saw what Justice Steele did on Saturday, and I know it was on FS1. It was from national television. I think some of the stuff actually got through the censors. I think he did apologize afterwards, in case there were any kids listening. We'll get to some weird stuff that happened after the game in a bit here. But, for me, I think it's just the inconsistency. The inconsistency is what's been frustrating. Yeah, I can say there have been, yes, the bullpen has been very good. Yes, they probably should have used Carl Edwards Jr. I know, our buddy from the Bigs who covers the Cubs. I know he had been lobbying for days before Edwards Jr. decided not to, get the option. Of course, from what I heard, he's still on the market, so we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, I mean, the Cubs are just one of those teams where it's just like they're near the top, but unfortunately, they're the top word a category where they're still like among like the top three among runners in scoring position. That was always been a problem for the Cubs. Like, you could have brought in some more guys. You probably could have spent a little bit more. You probably could have, you could have gotten Matt Chapman. I said it for. He would have been nice, in this Cub squad right now. You could have had a couple of guys, from the bullpen that you probably could have brought on. So, I think the reason why I know some people are asking for Jed Hoyer's head, in this, but you gotta think it's ownership. You gotta think it is Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins, but it also one of those things where you just kind of wonder, like, okay, what exactly is this Cubs team trying to, where is it? And where is that fire? Where is that passion? I mean, they're gonna be facing one of the toughest teams, probably one of the hottest teams in the league right now in Philadelphia, coming up tomorrow. So that's not going to be an easy series. You had to try to at least make it get within 7 or 8 games, so that way a little bit more manageable. Now you're 12 back. You're in last place. I don't know what else you can do at this point. Yeah, you can blame the injuries, but that you can only look. A lot of teams are going through injuries, this time of year, and they're still afloat. So it's just kind of silly that there's a lot of excuses that are going abound, and unfortunately at this point it's just tiring.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago, the Monday edition. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you, talking Cubs baseball. As the Cubs dropped 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee to the first place Brewers in the NL Central. Lakina, on the Justice Steele situation for me, I didn't have a problem with him doing what he did. he's we told you that he's been pitching his butt off ever since his return from the IL a little bit over a month ago. The Cubs uh, haven't supported him offensively with any consistency and run support. He's been pitching his ass off, and he was talking to himself along with his teammates. Say, "Hey, let's go. Get your head out of your you know what? Let's go." I guarantee you this: if it was somebody on the that was the 23rd, 24th, the 25th man on the roster that wasn't pulling their weight and did that, I guarantee you this will be a bigger controversy than it already is. Justice Steele has put in the work. You saw what he did last year, becoming one of the top pitchers in the National League. Even though injuries has set him back slightly, he's still one of the consistent starters in the National League, not just on this Cubs team. So he has every right to do that, and I didn't have a problem with him doing that. When I first saw that clip, I thought back to Carlos Zambrano. Now, Zambrano's was more emotional. He went a little bit over the edge. Remember, I think it was back in 08 or 09 against the White Sox during the Cubs Sox series. He was yelling at Derek Lee. He was yelling at everybody, and people made a bigger deal, in my opinion, than what it needed to be. But back to Steele, I didn't have a problem with him doing it. And I said he didn't go on a rant or anything like that. Like you say, he stood up to the media after the game. It is what it is, and it happens. Many players show passion in many different ways. Everybody's not the same, so I didn't have a problem with that. The problem that I have is that the Cubs can get them on, but they can't get them across home plate consistently. And we talked about this on our show last Friday. You saw it in the San Francisco series. You got to have smart base running, and you didn't have that in that series against the Giants. So many of these problems is internal from the Cubs, from within. Smart base running, failing to bunt, and the lack of stolen bases. That's really been the problem with this team. We talked about the bullpen 1,000 times. We talked about injuries here and there, as you said, 1,000 times. Everybody goes through it, but the simple things comes from within, and the Cubs are facing that right now.
You wonder though, in a couple weeks, by the time the trade deadline comes, will there be kind of like a fire sale? I know some people are, some Cubs fans, our buddy Mark Carmen from CHGO even said, hey, let's kind of tear it all down. But as I said before, I mean, you kind of have to remember there's still, look, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people going to Wrigley starting tomorrow for that Phillies series, especially, hopefully Kyle Schwarber will be able to play and during the series. And looking at the wild card slot, I mean, look, they're about 5 games back. They're about like 9 teams they're gonna have to jump over in order to have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say they're completely out of it, but I kind of feel like they're gonna have to get it going here if they want to try at least. Yes, the division's probably over and done with, but they still have like a very slim shot at the wild card. But again, they gotta go on a run here. They gotta steal some of these series. That's been the problem. This is what the 5th of the last 6 series that they've lost in the last month. I mean, June has not been a good month for the Cubs. So, you got a new month. You got about 4 weeks before the trade deadline. Hopefully, can kind of get it going. But I just don't think this team can do it. I mean, there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of oh shucks. I mean, it's just one of those days where you're just kind of what can this team do to kind of get it going? I mean, you can't use it's only June anymore, DSB Swats. You can't use that excuse anymore. We're now in July. So you got the trade deadline right at the end of the month. So you kind of have to try to get it going here to see if maybe you can at least get a shot, perhaps maybe making it the wild card even more interesting.
If you said there's any evidence of finger pointing, that means that's the beginning of the end. If that's the case, like you said, some players must go. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, the hopes for the division what this roster is constructed right now, the hopes for NL Central Division title is over. And as far as the wild card is concerned, as of right now, you barely hanging on the deal life.
To trade or not to trade, Garrett Crochet? That is the question that seems to be interesting for White Sox fans. As a White Sox said, and for those of you who are listening to this, sit with his hands down on his head. It was just not good. As they did win 2 out of 3 against the team that's just as bad as they are, the Rockies, after a very entertaining game yesterday. And are in the Yankees? Is there the wheels starting to fall off for the Yankees? And some other teams that are on a roll as well, and a whole lot more. The Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. More Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized. These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this Monday edition, the first one for the month of July. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my King McGee on the Twitter, X and Q's going in the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we continue to talk MLB and White Sox, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, more baseball as we go to the south side. The White Sox lose. Well, they won. They lost the chance to sweep the Rockies. They did win 2 out of 3. But the big question is that Garrett Crochet, who had another solid start over the weekend. Some people said, "Oh, go for it. Trade him. Get some of the best value." But then there are others that are like, "No. He could be like a nice little building piece for you." For the White Sox. So Sid, what do you think? I know you were at the game on Saturday where it was very hot, like in the upper 90s, but you did get a chance to sort of rub elbows with the White Sox TV announcing crew, of course, Stoney and John Schriffen. So you got a chance to hang out with those two for a little bit. So okay, first tell folks about what it was, back over there at G Rates, and also too, what do you think about the Garrett Crochet to trade or not to trade, as they say?
Yeah, first, I'd like to give a shout out to the guys and gals from the 108 section 108, and of course the Chicago Sports Sprums, the whole crew. They're tremendous people. I've been knowing them over the past year and a half or so. They threw down a great tailgate on Saturday in Lot B. Shout out to Chef Ruddy as well, cooking up this Saturday brunch meal. For those of you that missed it, you better not miss the next one coming up on the last Saturday in July next month. I'll leave it there. But it was great times meeting new people, meeting the same people over there. And Steve Stone came out early to the tailgate. For those of you that missed it, don't miss the next tailgate. Get there early. I promise you, you're gonna miss some surprises. I'll leave it at that. But Steve Stone came by early and greeted some of the fans. I had a chance to take a photo with him. Nothing but a class gentleman. Of course, John Striffen, the TV voice of the White Sox, came by an hour before the game. It was greeted by fans, and he came over to talk to the rest of the fans over from the 108 in the Chicago Sports Bums crew. He was gracious with his time as well. Two of them bothly classy gentlemen. Even though it was hot as you know what, it was still a great time. The parking lot was buzzing. Even though the White Sox are terrible on the field, the White Sox fans, the ones that do show up, we make it a good time. And it's one of the things I like about going to White Sox games is that you could tailgate, mingle in with fellow Sox fans. It's all a great time. So everything was great on Saturday, despite the hot weather. But the tailgate was great. The Sox actually won that day 11-3 over Colorado. So it was all a great time. Now back to the series and what happened yesterday. Lakina, there's a few things that are worse when you go to a sporting event and watch in person. Okay, of course, one of them is your team getting blown out, but there's something that's worse than that. I witnessed it yesterday. Watching extra innings between two bad baseball teams. Let me repeat that again. That's one of the worst experiences you have going to a sporting event that you actually pay for. Watching both teams that are bad go to extra innings, and you play 14 innings. You watch that against two bad baseball teams. Why? But I digress. But on to Garrett Crochet. Outside the second inning, when he gave up his only 2 runs of the game, he struck out at 11 through 7 innings. And as a fan, I do not want him to go. It's because we ask this all the time through a rebuild. Who's going to be your core to lead to lead your team into the next, hopefully to the next version of a winning team? But as an analyst, as a talking head here, I understand why GM Chris Getz is doing this to see if anybody's going to bite to overpay for Mr. Crochet's services. But why are you trading him now? I heard the news over the weekend that they couldn't reach a contract extension. Doesn't that sound familiar, Lakina?
Mm-hmm.
Dylan sees that's why he's no longer here. And if it happens again, probably sooner rather than later, I don't know where the Sox go from here. I know you have Drew Thorpe, who was part of that Dylan Cease trade. He's been kind of up and down, but that's what you expect from rookies, okay? No one's going to come out on fire, okay? That's what happens. But I think it would be a big mistake if Chris gets trades Garrett Crochet. You don't find many left-handers like that in baseball. Who's to say that you're going to find the next Garrett Crochet if you trade him in this deal, a potential deal? Nothing's guaranteed. And let's be honest here, no one expected him to turn out like this, especially coming off almost 2 years of from his Tommy John surgery. What he's doing is remarkable, and now you want to give him up because you don't want to pay him. That's just it's just asinine. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it goes to the top of Jerry Reinsdorf, which is ridiculous. But as far as the actual game yesterday, you had your chance to win in the bottom of the ninth. You had your chance in the 10th and the 11th and the 12th. You cannot lay a damn butt down. You can't execute a hit and run. And I know Colorado, I forgot that center fielder's name, who had 2 great plays in center field to extend the game. But when you fail to execute in crucial situations like it, especially with a man on in extra innings, you deserve to lose. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of it's well, look, I think it's one of those things where you're just like, well, I'll get to the crochet stuff in a second because I kind of see both sides of all this. So, well, again, I'll get to that. But for this game itself, I mean, the Sox, to their credit, they were able to come. They came back after what looks like, thanks to Luis Robert Jr., who La Pantera, as we call him, and unfortunately, of course, he's been the subject of trade talks, and he's been sort of kind of been consistent. Some people said there now, Brenton Doyle, who he's the guy you're talking about that made those couple of great catches over at center field, and I think there was one where that could have ended the game. I think in the 12th, but that didn't happen. So they were able to come back, and
it was off the bat of Tommy
the Rockies
Pham.
were able to come. Yeah, so that was they were able to come back and win that game, of course, with the Rockies. That was I believe, I think it was Togia who hit that sac fly that kind of broke that game open. So it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, two bad teams. Like I felt bad for you and anybody else who had to go out there yesterday and sit there and watch.
It was 20,000 of us.
Yeah, your brave souls out there at yesterday watching that extra innings, but I digress. But it was actually a pretty irritating game, oddly enough. But now going back to the Crochet stuff, I know he said after the game that he really wants to stay here and that he wants to try perhaps maybe get something done here. But also, I can kind of see why Getz wants to try to trade him now, because he might not stay like this, through the end of July while the time the trade deadline does come around. But at the same time, though, I think most teams are not going to overpay for a pitcher. They're not just give you one of their top prospects just to kind of give it to you. So I know Crochet, I think, has the most strikeouts for his career. He's been able to come back from that Tommy John and actually become an even better pitcher, because he was actually a pretty good pitcher even before the surgery, but now he's even a better pitcher. I know you want to try to strike while the iron's hot, as they say. But at the same time, though, I think you want to try at least get something going here to kind of like be sort of like a building piece. So I kind of see both sides, but again, maybe by the end of the month we'll have a better answer of what will happen. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what in that part of it. But of course, the White Sox unfortunately to fail to seal that sweep, and now they get to play the Guardians, the AL leading Guardians. Tomorrow. We'll get to that in a second. There's the Second City Sports Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you. Said, what caught your eye this weekend in MLB?
Staying in the AL Central, the terrible AL Central, the Minnesota Twins took 2 out of 3 from your Seattle Mariners. Of course, I talked about it all year about Minnesota's offense with Willie Castro. And of course, you have Carlos Correa, and you still have Byron Buxton, who's playing some center field this year after being relegated to the DH role the last couple years. But one of the things that I'm watching with the Minnesota Twins is their starting pitching. Joe Ryan yesterday, 10 strikeouts to 5 2/3 innings, I believe. And of course, Pablo Lopez, their top starter, he had 9 strikeouts through 6 innings in the game on Saturday. So the Twins offense, if they can provide enough runs for their starters in the long term, I think they can get back in this thing as far as the division race. But it's going to be tough because Cleveland has it going on right now, even though they took a big step back this weekend against Kansas City. But Minnesota, they're still in a hunt of the thick of it in the AL wildcard race. Now, can they make enough hay against Cleveland to close that gap within the Central Division? I'm not sure, but they can get performances like this, especially against first place teams. I think they'll be there, but we'll have to see about that in the long run. But nice job by the Twins starting pitching these last 2 games at Seattle.
Yeah, I gotta give them credit. That pitching, really kind of handcuffed that lineup for the Mariners, which is not easy to do. So good for them. And as far as the that Guardians Royals series is concerned, I mean, like they needed that series more than they needed that series more than the Guardians did. I'm talking about the Royals, so they needed that to kind of sort of like get kind of like for confidence purposes, because you thought that maybe they wouldn't be able to get back into the swing of that division, but they've been able to do just that. So we'll see what happens, because that division is going to get a little bit interesting. So we'll see. It's going to be a little bit of a little push pull here over the next couple of weeks. Now going to the AL East. Baltimore, they're taking advantage of all those Yankees injuries. That they win 3 out of 4 against Texas, and of course, yesterday aside, congrats to White from the Rangers. He did hit for the cycle. So they broke their 6-game skid. Talk about Texas. But on the flip side, though, for Baltimore, they were able to kind of get 3 out of 4. And Mr. Gunnar Henderson had a nice showing there in that series. He's also going to be in a home run derby coming up in a few weeks, the All-Star break. But yeah, Baltimore's looking pretty good.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me is we talked about it on the show for the last week or so is their starting pitching. Grayson Rodriguez, he's quietly one of the top leaders in wins in the American League as far as wins are concerned, as far as starters. But injuries to Kyle Radish and John Means, no relation to Kyle Means at War Media. And you would think they'll be one of the teams that they're calling Chris Getz right now in terms of what's going to take to get Garrett Crochet in a Baltimore uniform. If that happens, you really think this team can really take it to the next level, strike while the iron's hot. So we'll see what happens with their front office can do between now and the July 31st trade deadline to address their starting pitching.
To be continued now, saying the AL East, the Yankees, I know they're going to be happy with the second half of June being over with. They split their series against the last place Blue Jays. Of course, Aaron Judge hit his MLB lead 31st home run in that yesterday's game, and also Garrett Cole got his best showing since coming back. He got his first win. They're striking out 8 now. I know some folks are already saying that the Yankees are a bunch of frauds. Well, look, a lot of guys are hurt right now, and the fact that they've been able to kind of like keep things afloat a little bit. I mean, you got to commend them for that. But they're gonna need a lot of those guys back if they want to try to challenge, be right there with Baltimore, because Baltimore's like right there at their heels.
Yeah, you mentioned Garrett. I was going to say Garrett Crochet, but Garrett Cole, he pitched a great game yesterday. 5 innings with 6 strikeouts, gave up 3 hits and a walk. As we talked about last week on the show, his start against the Mets, it did not go well for him as he tried to work his way back. Because remember, folks, he missed almost first 3 full months of the year, and he's trying to get his timing back. So it's still going to take some time. But yesterday, he rebounded with a solid performance. Also, too, Juan Soto returned to the lineup yesterday, got a couple of hits as well.
Yes, he did. So a nice comebacker by him. So like he's starting to find his groove again. That's what you definitely want to see, especially with a lot of some of the other guys being out right now, Rizzo, and those and Stanton, those guys. So you gotta try to commend them for that. Now the Mariners going to the AL West. I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 against Minnesota after winning that first game. They thought, okay, maybe they can win, but unfortunately they weren't able to kind of get it going. Now they too are having some injury issues. So I think like one of their pitchers had to bat because one of their other guys got hurt. So that kind of started the whole thing. And I'm I'm not too worried, but I'm a little bit worried because they need to get some help with the hitting and the pitching, especially. We were talking about the last couple of weeks of the Mariners. So no, I'm not worried about the Mariners just yet. I mean, they face Baltimore coming up. That should be a fun series. In their Seattle, but definitely gonna be watching all those games. So yeah, what do you think about Seattle, where they're at right now?
You talk about the offense. I saw a stat yesterday, and it should be alarming, and that's why their front office needs to make a move for a big bet by July 31st. In their last 12 games, Seattle has a record of 4-8. Julio Rodriguez in his last 12 games, 0 RBI.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Not good. One of your best hitters not going through a little bit of slump right now. Hopefully they can kind of snap out of it because Houston's is nipping at their heels. No Grimace here, I guess. I guess the whole Grimace thing that that everyone, all the Mets fans were kind of clamoring on. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost 2 out of 3 at hosting Houston, and Jose Altuve got ejected for the second time in his career yesterday. So things are, but even then that didn't really deter them too much. So, but yeah, I mean, guys are coming back from injuries. You got to think that they're starting to kind of get it going. Alex Bregman has been very solid for them. This stretch. So yeah, Houston's saying, hey, look, don't forget about us.
Yeah, it's been their offense, as we talked about, Lakina, that needs to be consistent. They scored 9 runs on Saturday. After that brief rain delay yesterday, they scored 10 runs to beat the Mets 10-5 in extra innings. But if Houston can get any consistency in their starting pitcher, we talked about their injuries all year long, from Justin Verlander to Framber Valdez and to Valdez.
Mm-hmm.
It's been crazy. And of course, them releasing Jose Abreu a couple weeks ago. I said the Astros could make a run, but we'll see what happens. Now they're 42 and 41. They're right in the thick of things in the AL wild card race now. Can they get enough going to overtake Seattle? That still remains to be seen. But their offense is getting it done right now.
Yeah, so I think that's what you want to see right now. So we'll see if they can keep it up. Texas, look, they were able to kind of salvage that. We talked about them earlier because, of
Mhm.
course, they were able to salvage salvage a game against Baltimore. Now Texas, they're starting to show some injuries as well, so we'll see if they can get it going. Like I said, and of course, White, like for the rookie, hit for the cycle first in his career, so we'll get that gear. Now going to the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies, of course, who are the Cubs' next opponents. Safe to say that they're at a little bit of a stress. They split their series against the Marlins. I know some Phillies fans. Thankfully, some Phillies fans are actually pretty smart. They're not like panicking because of course you split your series against the one of the worst teams in the league. Well, I'll get to what Tim Anderson did throughout June in a second, but Alex Baum had Trey Turner. They hit go ahead 2 run singles to kind of help there. They're a little bit shorthanded right now. They've been kind of maybe the Cubs will take advantage of it. We'll see, but Phillies are starting to kind of like they're kind of even killing it, and that's fine, I guess, in that division.
Yeah, I feel it's challenging for Philadelphia right now because you mentioned the injuries to Bryce Harper and Cal Schwarber. We don't know how long they're going to be out. Yes, they're currently on a 10-day IL, but both could be extended stays. We'll soon find out. Because I think both those guys are going to miss the Cubs series, which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
the
darn
games
it.
must go on. But Philadelphia is finding ways to win ball games. You still have Suarez as far as your starting rotation. You still have Zach Wheeler. You still have Aaron Nola. So I think they can get by on their pitching. But Trey Turner, as we talked about, he hasn't played much all year. He's starting to play now. You mentioned he had that big hit yesterday to break it open for Philadelphia. So, and no, you cannot help who you play on your schedule, but you just have to go out and play baseball. If Philadelphia just can keep their record at or slightly above 500 while both Harper and Schwarber are out, I think they'll be okay.
Well, on the flip side, though, on the pitching side for the Phillies, Christopher Sanchez, his start on Saturday in his last 2 starts, 16 innings, 0 runs allowed, 0 walks, 0 extra base hits allowed. Now, in the last 40 years, only one other lefty has thrown all that and had done all that in that span. That's Mr. Clayton Kershaw did all the way back in 2015. So if there is some solace for that, I think you got to be, a little bit of solace there. I think their pitching kind of definitely help out in that front. And of course, also Tim Anderson, who's now with the Marlins. He actually had like one of the best, probably one of his best hitting stats throughout the year. If I could find it, he finished June with 20 hits while not recording a single walk or extra base hit. The only other player since 1901 to do that was I gotta go Ive Wingo, who did all the way back in 1914. So again, doing pretty well down there in South Florida, Mr. Anderson. So best to him, and hopefully can kind of keep it going there. And he seems to be happy down there with the Marlins. So we'll see what happens there. Now, staying in the East, the Braves, they won 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. They're starting to kind of maybe they're finally come to grips with a lot of injuries they're having right now, and guys like Cruz and Tellez. I mean, they've been kind of like helping out, picking up the slack. It looks like.
Yeah, I'll start with the Braves side first. As you mentioned, they also have to find ways to win ball games, and we talked about the starting pitching with Chris Sale leading the way, and former White Sox starter Ronaldo Lopez. He's leading the way as well. But Max Fried and Charlie Morton is going to have to be the backbone of that starting rotation for Atlanta. They plan to go back to the playoffs. But on the flip side for Pittsburgh, they had an opportunity to win Saturday's game. Rookie pitcher Paul Skeens pitched another great game, but Atlanta came through in that one at the end. Then, of course, Pittsburgh salvaged one yesterday with the home runs. But you mentioned by O'Neal Cruz and Rowdy Tellez. So if you're Atlanta, just keep winning series, and I think they'll be there in the NL East race. Is going to be tough, but they can make a move right now since Philadelphia. We talked about suffering injuries through their top two superstars. So for Atlanta, if they just keep winning series, I think they'll be in the same as far as the division race is concerned. On the flip side, for Pittsburgh, they just got to put one good long winning streak together, and I don't know if they could do that. They've been at the top trying to get over. They just can't quite get over that 500 mark just yet.
Happy Bobby Bonilla Day to all those who celebrate. He gets an extra $1.19
Yay!
million for the next. He's got about I think 3 or 4 more years of that contract. So yeah, I think he's sitting pretty there, retirement. But his former team, not so much. Like we talked about earlier, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets. Like I said, I guess that whole thing with Grimace and everything, I guess they can cancel all that now. After having a great 2-3 week span, they haven't really had they've lost. I think for their last 7 or something like that. So I guess so much for that whole Grimace whatever. But going to the Central first. Of course, we talked about the Brewers winning 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. Now St. Louis, they're starting to kind of get going a little bit too.
Yeah, they're 43-40 right now. They're right in the thick of it in the NL wildcard race. I still don't have faith in them as far as the division is concerned. But shout out to former White Sox pitcher and current St. Louis Cardinals pitcher for the second time in his career, Lance Lynn. He had his 1,000th career strikeout yesterday as part of the 2-0 win over Cincinnati.
Yeah, nice. 1,000 strikeouts. Yeah, I think I think that's a pretty exclusive club. Not a lot of guys are in that club, so good for him. Now going out west, 2 out of 3, the Dodgers lose to the Giants. I didn't see a lot of people wanting to call for Dave Roberts' head. I'm shocked, but of course, Matt Chapman, who I wanted to come to the Cubs, of course, he had a home run and drove in 3 to help win that series for the Giants against the Dodgers. The Dodgers actually did take advantage of the other Giants. They actually came back and beat the Giants on Saturday. I actually saw that game because it was a Saturday Fox game, so they were able to kind of salvage that. Again, I'm not worried about the Dodgers right now, and neither should you Dodgers fans. Of course, they're still 8 up, so I'm not too worried about them with all the injuries they've had. But yeah, every team is going through injuries at this point in the season, so it's kind of how you deal with it. And the Dodgers, at least for right now, are dealing with it pretty. They're doing it okay so far.
Yeah, like you said, they're starting pitching. I'm talking about the Dodgers took a big hit this weekend. The Giants on the roll right now. You take 2 out of 3 against your division rivals. You take 3 out of 4 against the Chicago Cubs, and you're trying to get back into it. And so the Giants on a hot streak right now. Can they keep it up? We'll see. Now, staying in the NL West Division, we talked about Colorado losing 2 out of 3 in Chicago. Who cares? But the San Diego Padres, they failed to sweep the Red Sox as the Red Sox get the best of the Padres yesterday by the score of 4-1. But the Padres' offensive bats came alive over the weekend, scoring 9 runs on Friday and 11 on last Saturday at Fenway.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, if they can do it consistently, it could be kind of give the Dodgers a little bit of run, but they haven't been able to do it consistently. So, unfortunately, haven't been able to do that. So we'll see if the Padres kind of take advantage of it. A little bit of a kink there with the Dodgers going on right now with some of their injuries. But again, we'll see what happens. Now, a loaded schedule. We're going to do a few of these games because we will be back on Wednesday. But for today and tomorrow, today's games, you got Houston facing Toronto, starting their series. You've got the Mets and Washington. That's going to be on ESPN Plus. And you got Milwaukee going on the road to face the Rockies. The last 2 opponents for the Chicago teams at Coors Field on Tuesday. Tomorrow you got Boston and Miami. Of course, talking about the White Sox starting their series against the Guardians. St. Louis and Pittsburgh. And you got Cincinnati and the Yankees. That should be an interesting series.
Rounding out the rest of the schedule for tomorrow, you have the New York Mets at Washington to take on the Nationals. Houston will visit Toronto. The San Francisco Giants will travel to Atlanta to take on the Braves. The Philadelphia Phillies will face the Chicago Cubs. The first game tomorrow will be on TBS nationally. Local broadcasts are available only in Philadelphia and the Chicago markets. San Diego will visit Texas to take on the Rangers. Tampa Bay will visit Kansas City. The LA Angels will visit Oakland to take on the Athletics. Baltimore, Seattle, as Lakina mentioned earlier. Arizona, who took 2 out of 3 over the weekend against Oakland, they'll play the LA Dodgers in La La Land. And that's your schedule for MLB for tomorrow.
That should be a fun series as usual between those two teams. I know Dodgers are going to try to get their revenge, so we'll see what happens there. Now, hour number 1 in the books, hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports. Sports Zone Chicago, we're going to talk some NBA and NHL free agent frenzy. As in the NBA, of course, the Bulls actually made some moves and a whole lot of teams, shuffling around. Same thing with the NHL as well. Of course, we got some sports media news. U.S. Olympic teams are now set. And so much more. And of course, Old School TV Monday. Busy hour number 2 coming up next with Keena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Easy for me to say. I'm so excited. We got Free Agent Frenzy coming up right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! Yes, sir! Move that
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Monday edition, the first one for the month of July. We're right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
If you have any questions or comments for us as we talk Bulls and NBA free agency, you can do so by hitting us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakino will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you got Sports Zone Chicago live in the 11 color on Roku TV.
All right, so a lot going on in the NBA as, of course, there's no dead time in the NBA. So we'll get to some of the stuff in a second. Now the Bulls actually did make some news here as they did sign Jalen Smith to a pretty solid deal, a three-year, $27 million deal. And we know we were saying the Bulls need shooters, so they've been able to do just that. He actually did spend some time here in Chicago for a little bit before he moved to, of course, he moved to Baltimore, went to Maryland, and of course, played for Dallas. So I'm kind of curious to see how A.K. Rivers are going to do this because he is still very young. He's only like 25. But you wonder if this is going to be the new youth movement for the Bulls. But I think even still, this is a very good signing by them.
Yeah, we've been begging for this for the last couple of years for the Bulls, this Bulls team to get some shooting. It looks like they have it. Remember, they picked up Marcus Dozmask from the final line night, even though he did not get drafted. But hopefully, he can make the team. And we'll see what he does at Summer League. I know Summer League is starting later this week after the holiday. But you wonder if this is the kind of the youth movement for the Chicago Bulls. Remember, Lonzo Ball still has not been cleared for 5-on-5 contact yet. With the trade of Alex Caruso in exchange for Josh Giddey a couple of weeks ago, does this mean the end for DeMar DeRozan? For what I've been hearing and reading, it looks like, unfortunately, the answer is yes. If that's the case, where will DeMar DeRozan go? We'll discuss that in a second. But it seems like are the Rhinestars giving? It seems like the Rhinestars are giving Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley the green light to go ahead and do this retool. I know the Bulls have that new network coming starting in the fall, but if you're a Bulls fan, is this the right thing to do? And are you okay with it? Lakina, I know you've been on the other side of this argument saying that there's going to be a large contingent of Bulls fans that are not okay with this. But if you want to be better than what you are, sometimes you have to go through this. So it looks like that AK and Mark Eversley have been given the green light by them Rhinestars. If that's the case, this is what you're going to get.
I would caution Bulls fans who have been calling for this that look, they've got a new network they're going to be launching. You're not going to be able to sell this to this if you're trying to build a new network. You're not going to be able to Jalen Smith from Indiana. They're not. You're not going to be able to kind of sell anyone on that. So, you can build on Kobe White. P. Will got a nice little contract. We'll talk about that in a second. But, with IO and such. So, have fun. I mean, look, you're not going to be able to, 2 years. Look, you got 2 or 3 years if you do this retooling. But you're not going to be able to get with this after 2 years. You're not. And I know some Bulls fans after this will be, screaming like, why aren't we contending? So, be careful what you wish for, as they always say. Now, speaking of P. Will, he got a nice $90 million deal for 5 years. This was late Friday night. If P. Will stays healthy, I think he can that could end up being a good steal for the Bulls. He knew he wasn't going to get that $200 million contract he was clamoring for because of those injuries and inconsistency. So hopefully this will give him some motivation. He got some fresh paper. Hopefully this will motivate him to kind of. He's still very young. He's only still 22 or 23, so he can still has a shot to perhaps get that big money. So if he stays healthy and stays consistent, he can probably get that money in the next cycle.
We talked about Lakina during last season, since it's all season now. We talked about last season when Zach LaVine was out late November into December. We saw the growth of Patrick Williams. He was in the starting lineup. He didn't have to worry about Zach. You saw him go out and play his game. He extended his range in terms of his jump shot. He's a very good playmaker, very good defender. So you saw that with confidence, without him having to worry about Zach over his shoulder or DeMar all the time. You saw him go out and play his game, and you saw that confidence continue to grow. What set him back, as you said, Lakina, was the injuries, especially what happened to him after the All-Star break, which caused him to miss the rest of the year. So congratulations to him. We'll see what the makeup of this Bulls team is going into next year, but you can see, I'm not going to say he's going to be the man, because I don't think he's that type of player, but if he stays healthy, I can see him with some more improved numbers next year. Now that, assuming that Zach LaVine is traded before the start of next season, assuming that DeMar DeRozan may be out here, we'll get to that in a second. I think you're going to see some more touches for P. Will, and I expect him, especially now, like you said, with some fresh paper, I expect those numbers to go up even more next year.
Should be interesting to see how he hopefully can get. He should be back by training camp from his injury from last year, so we'll see what happens here now. Probably the one big domino to fall was Paul George, and this is definitely one of those while you were sleeping type moves. 4 years, $212 million to join Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and the Philadelphia. No, not Tyrese Maxey, but Tobias Harris and the Philadelphia 76ers. So I guess they got a new big three.
Yeah, you were about Tobias Harris. He goes back to the Detroit Pistons. I know Philadelphia fans are like, okay, he didn't. He was very
Bye.
inconsistent the last couple. It says, yes, see
He
ya.
says bye.
But the Sixers are handing out fresh cash like it's going on. So you mentioned Paul George and now Tyrese Maxey, who we saw become an All-Star last year. You saw what he did in the playoffs against the Knicks last year. It was also for Joel Embiid's injury last year before the All-Star break. Philadelphia definitely would have been one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. Perhaps they would have been playing Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's old news now. But Philadelphia has their new big three. As long as Joel Embiid stays healthy, there's no more excuses now. Philadelphia is going to be right up there with Boston in terms of being a top contender in the East next year. Speaking of Boston, I know we're going to get to this. Derek White, one of their unsung heroes, he signed a 4-year, $125 million contract, which includes a player option.
Yeah, nice little again, fresh paper, fresh off a championship. So definitely deserving of that. Now, the majority owner of the Celtics, I don't know if you saw this. This came out about an hour ago. Apparently, they're putting the majority of the team up for sale. So I guess now is a good time as any to try to make some. I don't know what I think the value is about 5 or 6 billion for Boston. I'm sure it's going to go up a little bit now that they're fresh out of winning number 18. So that could be something to look out for as well. Chris Paul has sign a 1-year, $11 million deal to San Antonio. Him and Wemby. Ooh, that should be fun. Yay! And with pop coaching. Whee!
Yeah, I know that Chris Paul. I think he played for Popovich on Team USA. If I'm mistaken, please
I'm sure
correct
he
me.
did.
But
I'm sure he did.
I know that he always had great respect for Popovich. I think Chris Paul realized that the teams that he wanted to go to via free agency, they just didn't have the room for him as far as salary cap is concerned. And I know the Warriors were trying to trade him over the weekend, but they couldn't find any takers for what he was making at the time. So I think this is for Chris Paul to save face. I think this move is for San Antonio to save face as well. I know that him and Wemby, they're going to be attracted nice to the television, but is it enough for San Antonio to get out of the basement? I'm not sure. I want to see what other moves they can make. I'm not saying San Antonio is going to win a championship next year and all that. No, because they're still a young team, but I'm interested to see what other moves that the San Antonio front office can make.
Staying out west, Kadavius Caldwell Pope is leaving the Nuggets for Orlando. He gets a 3-year, $66 million deal to join Apollo Poncaro and the rest of that Magic squad.
Well, that Magic team needs some defense, especially in the perimeter. We saw what Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can do. We saw what he did with the Denver Nuggets when they won the championship last season. In 2023, we saw what he did in the bubble with that Lakers team in 2020. So he's a young veteran that knows his role. He brings some experience. So that's what you need with the team like Orlando that's trying to go and try to take their next step. So I think this was a very good signing by the Magic.
Sort of like beef up that bench there. So we'll see what happens. There is the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you for Free Frenzy going on in the NBA. Delon Wright goes to Milwaukee in a 1-year, $3 million deal. We talked about their White, getting some fresh paper for the Celtics. Jonas Valanciunas, if I can find this, if I can find it. I mean, like I said, there have been so many signings; it's kind of hard to keep up. But I know Knicks fans were hoping to keep him, but that turned out to not be the case. He gets well, I'll say this one first. Isaiah Hardenstein, who I know Knicks fans became a cult figure down there with the Knicks. He is leaving there to go to OKC in an $87 million deal for 3 years.
That's a great move by OKC. Here's why. You saw what happened in that series last year against the Dallas Mavericks, correct? In that second round. Chet Holmgren, very good player, very good offensive player, but the Oklahoma City Thunder got beat up inside, especially with the likes of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and those were the two unsung heroes for that Dallas Mavericks team in that series, in my opinion, last year. And Oklahoma City failed to defend, especially from the interior. This is a great move for OKC Thunder. They're going for it. Give GM Sam Presti credit for that. You knew the deficiencies that this Oklahoma City team has had. He brought in 2 defensive subs via trade. First, we talked about with Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey. Now you bring in Isaiah Hartenstein. Great move out of OKC Thunder. They're not sitting on their moors thinking that, oh, if things break their way next year, let's hope, we wish, we pray. As a good buddy from Sox Machine, friend of the show, Josh Nelson, always has, hope is not a strategy. Sam Presti does not operate on hope. He operates on results, and he's going to get it from Isaiah Hartenstein. I like this move for the OKC Thunder.
Lots of more, I guess, like more depth, I guess, if you're OKC to kind of in that respect. I mean, one of the reasons why they lost to Dallas was because of on the inside. So, look, no shade to Homer, but he definitely needs to beef up if he wants to try to, help out a little bit. So that's going to be the really big thing here. So, going to be interesting to see what happens there. Because this is Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Cindy Brown with you as we talk some Bulls and NBA free agency. Lots of, like I said, a lot of moves kind of happy yesterday. I guess, Klay Thompson. Speaking of the Mavs, I guess Klay Thompson is one of the Lakers and the Mavs. I didn't know there was another team as well, or a couple of the teams that are perhaps maybe he'll talk, because, of course, it looks like he's gone said bye-bye to the Warriors, and, could he be joining LeBron? Now, LeBron did opt out of his deal, but that's not to say that, I know people will say, well, wait a minute, did his son just get drafted there? Don't worry. He'll probably be back there. Perhaps they're going to see how the rest of the things go. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do. Mr. Thompson where he decides to go.
I know he's going to take a couple of meetings with a few teams over the next couple of days. First with Dallas, then the LA Clippers, and of course the Los Angeles Lakers. I know this is one of the reasons why LeBron James opted out of that contract, because he said that if you believe the reports that LeBron could take less money if the Lakers can swing in a superstar or a difference maker. Now with Klay Thompson, I think that from what I've been hearing, that Dallas is strongly interested in him. We talked about what happened to him in the finals, Lakina. Yes, Boston defended the Dallas Mavericks well, but what was the one thing that was the problem for Dallas in that final series last year? Shooting. Yes, PJ Washington had a good playoff run up to the finals, and Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic did their thing, but Luka, with the fatigue factor, who can help him, relieve him of that in terms of the scoring load? Klay Thompson. I think him and the Mavericks are a perfect match for each other. Not saying that he couldn't work for the Lakers and LeBron. That's always intriguing there. The Clippers, I don't know how much room they'll have underneath their salary cap. We'll get to them in just a second. But I think Klay Thompson and Dallas are a perfect match. They desperately need some shooting, especially after we saw in the finals last year. I think that's going to be a perfect match. I'm talking about Thompson and Dallas.
I found Mr. Valanciunas. He's going to Washington in a 3-year, $30 million deal to kind of beef up that. They need shooting. Well, they need a lot of things over there with the Wizards. So hopefully.
Well, they got plenty of shooting with Jordan Poole throwing up air balls.
Yeah, well, actual shots they'll actually make. But I digress. But yeah, a nice pickup there. Kevin Porter Jr. The Clippers. I guess got a 2-year deal, and it'll be interesting to see if the Clippers. I mean, look, now that Paul George is gone, you're basically going to kind of have to. I don't want to say rebuild per se, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Clippers do, because like you said, they are part of the Klay Thompson sweepstakes, but I don't know if they got any room in the cap to do that. That's one of the reasons why PG left. So gonna be interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, Paul George wanted the full ball, and the Clippers didn't think their owner Steve Ballmer, who has more money than God, he didn't think that Paul George was worth it. Don't forget they have a new arena that's going to open up soon in time for next season. But this is kind of a retool for the Clippers. Remember, they gave Kawhi that 3-year extension in the middle of last season. He's going to play on the Olympic team this summer. I know head coach of the Clippers, Tyronn Lue, is going to be on that coaching staff. So Kawhi Leonard's not going to play 40 minutes or so. Yeah, he's going to get easier to get playing Team USA. Stop it, folks. He's not going to be a difference maker. So they're going to monitor his minutes, so don't worry. Now back to the rest of that Clippers roster. You mentioned they bring back James Harden at $35 million a year over the next 2 years. I think that was key. I know he had a couple of good moments in the playoffs last year against Dallas, but you really cannot blame him for why the Clippers lost. I know he's been a punching bag over the majority of his career about playoff failures, and rightly so, but not last year. But here's the thing: if the Clippers do not get Klay Thompson's services, does this open the door for DeMar DeRozan to return? Remember, the Lakers could have had him a couple of years ago, but LeBron James decided that I like Russell Westbrook a little bit better. You saw what happened; that blew up in the face. But DeRozan, I think this will open an opportunity for him to go back home and play for the Clippers. If Klay Thompson does not sign with the Clippers, does this open the door now with PG out of there? Does this open the door for DeMar DeRozan to return home and play for the Clippers? If so, I think the Clippers will still be up there in the mix with their first group of teams in the Western Conference.
It'll probably have to be a sign and trade, I guess, so they can try to at least get something for him, and hopefully they don't phone the bat on top of the Bulls. But I digress. The Sixers have been pretty busy. Remember, they're actually apparently are now in the. They're also now, according to Woj, they're in the Klay Thompson sweepstakes as well, and also too they got Andre Drummond returning there. So yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see I'm gonna miss the Andre Drummond experience here in Chicago those 2 years. It was an interesting couple of 20-point, 20 rebound games. So yeah, it was like I said, it's been a fun ride. So there'll be I'm definitely gonna miss that experience there. So any other NBA signings that kind of like some that got you excited, or were there something that kind of made you scratch your head?
And congrats to JB Bickerstaff, who got the head coaching job with the Detroit Pistons. I know new GM Trajan Lane is the head of the operations now, so they have a lot of work to do. Hopefully, JB Bickerstaff is given a fair shot to help turn that situation around. But I'm going to ask you, Lakina, about DeMar DeRozan. I know there's been reports that's been flown around over the weekend following that Caruso trade a couple weeks ago to OKC that he wasn't very happy. Of course, he's a free agent this summer. As I asked the question a moment ago, I'll ask you along with our listeners and viewers out there at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. With the Caruso trade happening with the that happened with the Bulls a couple weeks ago. Now with Paul George moving on to Philadelphia, does the DeMar DeRozan experience now travels with him to LA to go play at home with the Clippers?
Like I said, it's going to have to be a sign and trade. It's going to have to be because they're going to have to at least try to get something from him. And, yeah, he is from there. He did go to USC so for like 10 minutes, but still he did play there for a little bit. So yeah, I'm sure I know he likes it here. I know his daughter likes her school here in Chicago that she goes to. But yeah, This is kind of like if he's not happy about it, then like I said, you're going to need something to kind of like, I'm sure he's going to want assurances from making never say like what's going on here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I did answer the question earlier. I said thank you for listening.
Okay.
I did say it's going to have to be a sign and trade if they do decide to, whether it's the Clippers or Lakers or whoever, either one of those LA teams, it's going to have to be a sign and trade because they don't really have. Neither team really has it now, unless of course the Clippers give you a first round pick. You're going to need something from them. So that'll be just see what happens. But yeah, I mean, again, it's probably the only way that the Bulls will be able to do this is through a sign and trade, and they may have to get another team involved as well.
Like I said, like you said, I think you just answered your question. The Clippers really don't have anything left in terms of draft capital. They gave all that up with the Paul George thing a few years ago. So, yeah, good luck. Good luck to the Bulls front office. They're trying to do a signing trade. It's tough. Especially with these new rules now that for them to do that. So the Bulls will just have to take a loss and say bye-bye to DeRozan. Now, how the rest of this Bulls team is going to be made up, I'm not sure. And I'll ask you this question first, and along with our viewers and listeners out there at Sports Zone Chicagoland on Facebook and our YouTube pages. Is Vucevic the next one to go? Will Kobe White surprisingly be traded? Which I highly doubt, but is Vucevic the next one to go? Because the Bulls still had to get underneath that salary cap.
Yeah, I think they raised up to 140, but yeah, they're still kind of like right there in the middle of it, so they may have to make another move, whether it's trading Vooch, which again I would hate that, but as long as you get something, they're gonna have to get something of value for them because you're gonna have to try to get a pick. So yeah, the Bulls experience is gonna be interesting because, like I said, you're gonna be going on a new network. You're gonna need something to sell to get to people to watch your new network. Mm-hmm. And so if we're gonna give Kobe White, I would assume, and the rest of that group, Torrey Craig got his option. He decided to pick up his option, staying with the Bulls as well. Yeah, that's gonna get a lot of people to tune into the new network. So yeah, good luck to all the Bulls fans. But yeah, it'll be just to see there. Now the KD stuff is interesting to me because I know some people have said that perhaps maybe the Bulls may have a shot at that. I know some people, maybe Miami, which I saw that too. I'm like, wait, what are they? Miami really doesn't have anything, but I digress. But do you see KD going anywhere?
I don't think so. Only because I know their owner, talking about the Suns owner, said that he's not going anywhere. We'll see about that. But I think if the Suns decided to trade any of their big three players, Bradley Beal, he gave you what he had, even though he barely played half the year. I think you'll get something if you trade Devin Booker. But the Suns are stuck in salary cap hell, and so it looks like they're going to be stuck with that problem. So I don't see Kevin Durant going anywhere. On your point with the Miami Heat, of course, Jimmy Butler is recovering from the knee surgery. I know they re-signed Kevin Love for 2 more years. Lakina, 2 more years. Congrats to him, but I don't see him really being that difference maker because he's an older player now.
Yeah, he's like 36 or something like that now. So I'm just like, what can he really do with it? Look, he's had a great career. I mean, I commend him for still, wanting to play and still playing at a pretty high level. But what can he do? I mean, he was a bit of a factor last year, but except against the Bulls, he seems to play like the Kevin Love we used to see like in early years against the Bulls all the time. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of like that's going to be interesting to see what happens and what they're now. There aren't a lot of free agents out there. So who do you think is out there that maybe the Bulls can try to get? Perhaps again, they may have to move either DeRozan or Vooch to try to get it happening. But who else do you think is out there that still needs to find? I know Klay Thompson. That's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Does he go with Philadelphia? Does he go with one of the LA teams? Yeah, that's going to be the next domino to fall, I think.
Oh, here's one move that we failed to discuss. I think it took place. It took place definitely after we got out the air last Friday. Dejounte Murray, he was traded from Atlanta to New Orleans. I think that's a good move for New Orleans because they struggle in the point guard department. If this guy stays healthy, I'm talking about Zion Williamson, he stays out of trouble. Leave the women alone. I'll leave it at that. But Google's your friend, Lakina would say. But if Zion Williamson stays healthy, you have CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. If you believe some reports, they're trying to trade him. But New Orleans has a nice core there, and you saw what happened in the playoffs last year. I'll still say this, and I'll say it here until the start of next season. If Zion Williamson was healthy, because remember, he was playing well before he got injured in that playing game against the Lakers last year. But if Zion Williamson was healthy last year, they beat OKC in that first round. Now with Dejounte Murray, it gets them another scoring threat.
Definitely gives a lot of depth. That was missing for them, and especially that's why they got knocked out of the playoffs early. It was a lack of scoring. So so that was a nice trade by the Pelicans. The Hawks get an extra first round pick for next year. So maybe, again, Trae Young. That's another thing we didn't mention. I mean, could he be on the move? Perhaps. So that's another thing that maybe we'll look out for these next couple of days. And so with the Fraser Frenzies, we're going to be talking even more about this kind of on Wednesday. So should be interesting.
Yep, we're just getting started. And who leads to LeBron James as far as NBA free agency? We have other big stars, and we just spent a whole half hour talking about it.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention LeBron, so we just mentioned like once since we
right.
So.
But for the last several years, people said NBA free agency is hard if LeBron James is involved, but he's not involved this year. So this ain't 2010, this ain't 2014. So we still have other big stars that we can talk about who making moves, and we just did it right here.
Well, yeah, we'll see if Klay Thompson makes a decision when we convene again on Wednesday. It should be interesting there. Now, we'll go to the ice. We'll do that hockey for their free agent. And the Blackhawks have been very, very busy, Mr. Kyle Davidson. What does all this mean? And some interesting moves and then some old faces coming back. That, and of course, the sports media news, U.S. Olympic squads have been finalized. And of course, Old School TV Monday coming up next. Akina McGee, Steve Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago, go as a hodgepodge coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
these scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid McKinney here with you as we kick off the Monday edition for the first one for the month of July. If you want to get at yours truly via the social media streets, you can find yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Matt King McGee on the Twitter, X again, IG.
This is our last break of the show for today. So you have any questions or comments for us as we go into our grab bag segment, make those questions or comments good by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. We'll get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go to the ice now for their free agency because there was a little bit of a frenzy there as well. We'll start with the Blackhawks and some of the big moves here. Of course, Teuvo Teravainen is back. He's back on a new 2-year deal. The Blackhawks also agreed to terms with three-time Stanley Cup champion Pat Maroon to a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. And there were a couple of other names here, but those are probably like the two big names for the Blackhawks. And it looks like Kyle Davidson, I guess, is saying, I doubt the Hawks are going to. Oh, they also got Alex Martinez as well, veteran defenseman. They got him. So, yes, a lot of things happening here for the Blackhawks. And I think, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to compete for the Stanley Cup or even the Western Conference, but you heard from Connor Bedard and Nick Foligno. They are with our buddies in the CSO Blackhawks. They said that, hey, we need some help. Bedard needs help, and so do we. And so they're at least trying to compete and perhaps maybe compete for one of those lower tier playoff spots.
Yeah, that's the consensus message that we said on our shows last week. that the block. I said this before the start of last season. I'm giving the Hawks 3 years to be a contender for the playoffs. Last year it was kind of a watch, whereas we knew they weren't going to be good. Even though Connor Bedard had a very good rookie year, he's called a cup, could not call the cup. He's the winner for the rookie of the year. But we said during this offseason, you need better veteran help. The Corey Perry experiment, you can say what you want to about it. It didn't work. And so you mentioned about Nick Foligno, he's here. But with those signings that you mentioned, I like the Bertuzzi move. I definitely like the Teuvo Teravainen move. I know he was part of that 2015 Stanley Cup team, the one that beat Tampa Bay. He was a very raw and young player, but unfortunately, he was part of that trade with Brian Bickle to the Carolina Hurricanes at the time because the Hawks were going through salary cap hell. Thank you, Stan Bowman, for that. But Teuvo Teravainen is going to get some much needed playing time. He's going to have Connor Bedard along with Bertuzzi as well. We said this message consistently, and we're going to say it here. But this is all about Connor Bedard getting him some better veteran help for him to escalate his progress in the NHL. I know you got Frank Nazar, the other prospect that you brought up towards the last week of the regular season. You saw what he did in his first game. Maybe he's going to be a part of that young core going forward. You still have other prospects that you may bring up at the start of next year. But these veteran moves here are to get Connor Bedard better acclimated to the NHL game.
Yeah, and I think there's another veteran that the Hawks picked up, but yeah, there have been a lot of moves here for the Blackhawks. They've been very busy these last couple of hours since the official free agent frenzy in the NHL. So there's going to be a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if they do make some more moves. I mean, we've heard and read that they could be on the lookout for some of these veterans, and they got another veteran here, Laurent Brossoit. 2 years, 3.3 million. So another veteran that they kind of add in for the Hawks to fold. So a lot going on there. Now another team that's been very busy is the Nashville Predators. They agreed to terms with Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Bray Skijji, and I don't know how they're getting their money, but I guess. But a lot so far. But yeah, I mean the Blackhawks and the Preds are kind of two teams that are on the rebuild. They're coming up.
Yeah, well, we know the Predators historically have been known for scoring, for the lack of scoring thereafter, and picking up Steven Stamkos will help in that department a little bit. I know they were on a borderline of making the playoffs last year. They didn't, so this kind of veteran move does help their franchise. And then with the Blackhawks, as we've been saying, they're on the. But these moves are for them to take the next step. Now, are there, like you said, are we going to see a Stanley Cup here next year? No. Are we going to see a deep playoff run next year? No. But I think this is these moves for the Blackhawks are for them to be better than a 20-win team, perhaps be on that borderline to qualify for the playoffs. Now, I still believe that the Hawks can the need to straighten out their goalie situation. I don't know if they're going to do that this year, but perhaps around this time next year, they may start to address that. So this is all the moves for Chicago to take that next step to be a competitive team. For Nashville, it's a great veteran move for them. They, ever since their Stanley Cup appearance a few years ago, rather than 2017, I believe they've been borderline ever since. So I think this move with Stamkos will take Nashville perhaps to that next level, getting back into the playoffs for the Hawks. It's all about building an identity, building a culture, and to put better pieces around Bedard to make this as a better competitive team and getting out of the basement.
Yeah, Riley Smith is another name that could be that's been on the move. The Penguins have traded him to the Rangers for a second and a fifth-round pick. So it looks like maybe the Penguins. I'm not saying the Penguins are going on a rebuild. I'm sure the Penguins fans would not be kind to that, but they're definitely kind of like emptying out some salary here, a little bit of a salary dump.
Yeah, that core has been together for a long time, like Keelan. We saw that come unravel a couple of years ago when they didn't make the playoffs. So Crosby still has some life left. They need to retool. We've been seeing that from Pittsburgh for the last couple of years. So this is another example of that with that move right here.
The Canucks, they started a little bit something too. They've signed Jacob DeBrusk. The you some of the names that are being floated around here. Danton Heinen, another name, a veteran guy, and also Kiefer Sherwood. So a couple of veterans there. The Canucks. I mean, the Canucks are kind of like I said, a lot of these names are going to be, there's probably going to be even more names that are being floated around. That might be the Hawks probably are done. So I'm thinking that maybe this is just they're just getting started. So, but I like these moves for the Canucks, and like the move the Hawks made as well, because I think that they want to make that next step. And I think Kyle Davis is making it known. Now, like I said, they're definitely going to be right there for the playoffs next year, or at least the running for one of the playoff spots. I'm not going to sit there and say that they're going to be, they're going to be silly. No. I like, you're getting your little mix of veterans, you get a little mix of youth, and all those guys they drafted. They're probably, look, one of them may look, John Mustard. There's you can have fun with that name if you must. Again, it looks like Likroff, who they did, they actually were trying to get Demidov too, but the Canadians said no. He ended up going to Montreal. But Likroff, might be going to staying at Michigan State. So this is probably another reason why they're making all these moves. So go for the Blackhawks. We'll see what these guys can do.
Okay. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina here with you, as this is our last break of the show for today, as we go into our grab bag segment. Breaking news from the world of the NBA. I guess they were listening to our show. I don't know, but the Mavericks and forward Klay Thompson have agreed to terms. Klay Thompson will sign a 3-year, $50 million deal to join the Mavericks.
I just saw that. So I guess with him not going to neither LA team, looks like this could be this could make a way for DeMar DeRozan to go back to one of those LA teams. So we'll just see what they can do here. But yeah, this is a big development now. Him and Kyrie, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, this is going to get okay. Yeah, the things is kind of interesting in that Western Conference.
We all that know that Klay Thompson struggled in his last game as a Warrior in that playing game against the Sacramento Kings. He did not make a basket, but in 63 games last year as a starter, he averaged 17 points a game. He shot the ball 43% from the field, 38% from three. But as a reserve, 19 points a game, 46% from the field, and 43% shooting from downtown. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jason Kidd will use him next season. Will he be a starter half the time, or will he come off the bench? So it's going to be interesting to see how Jason Kidd will use Klay Thompson. But as I said before in our last segment, I'll say it again here for those of you that just joined us. We saw what Luka Doncic can do, especially in the finals last year. When fatigue sets in, he didn't have an additional scoring load to take the weight off of him. Now he has that with Klay Thompson.
Gonna be interesting to see how they all mesh together. That's gonna be interesting to see here. Now, Nicholas Batum, the veteran forward, he signed a 2-year deal, $9.6 million to go to the Clippers. So, yeah, like I said, the frenzy is on. So all the cash. So yeah, there's a theme here, folks. So we'll see if the Bulls, how will it affect the Bulls if they start making moves here. Now, any other NHL news that before we move on that kind of caught your attention?
No, that's just we talked about the Hawks, so what they're doing, trying to take that next step. But I like I said, I just like what the Steven Stamkos and the Nashville Predators did over the weekend by signing him. I think is taking the Predators back up to another step and returning to the playoffs.
We'll see what happens. There's listening to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sidney Brown with you. We'll keep you guys updated on any more NBA and NHL potential news and trades. So going to be a very busy next couple of days here before we convene on Wednesday. So going to the Olympics for a second. Now we'll start with let's start with track and field. Selena McLaughlin-Levrone broke her own world record in the final of the 400-meter hurdles. And yeah, I mean, the fact that she wasn't, I don't want to say she wasn't trying or wasn't running fast, but it was just that she was just striding along and just jogging. Just shows you how amazing athlete she is, and just a great performance by her that she saved the best for last yesterday.
Yeah, so are you, not to put words in your mouth, but are you saying she is the female version of Usain Bolt? Because you that much better than your competition?
Well, yeah, I mean, she look, she's the defending champion, and she's pretty much dominated for the most part this year. Now she did run in the flat 400 meters in the World Championships last year in Budapest, but I think she thought the better of that. So let me go back to the hurdles. That's where I'm comfortable with, and she's been pretty much dominating. So you pretty much say she's only gonna get better, I think.
Yeah, I know Sha'Carri Richardson is the biggest star there for the United States, and she's gonna have her competition on her hands. If you say this, the other one is very good, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the USA women's track and field team.
All right, on the men's side, of course, Noah Lyles makes it on the 200. Kenny McNair, Kung Fu Kenny, as they call him. That should be an interesting battle there in the 100 and the 200 for the men. Now, on the 400 side, I don't know if you heard this guy's name, Sid Quincy Wilson. He's only 16.
No.
And, he kind of made a turn. He made it all the way to the finals in 400 meters. He actually just missed making the team. He came in 5th, but he is been named to the team. He's going to be running in the 4x4, so he'll get a little bit of experience there in the Olympics in Paris. So that should be an interesting little tidbit as well. And I think that's about it for the track. There's going to be a new champion in the 100-meter hurdles. So that's wide open. Ryan Benjamin wins the 400-meter hurdles. He and Kostas Kalor from Denmark. That's going to be an interesting battle there the last couple of years. Of course, Klaus from Denmark, hoping to be just the second guy to win back-to-back, all the way back to Edmund Moses back in the 80s. So, actually 76 to 84, so that was a big gap there. Technically, it was back-to-back. Of course, the U.S. boycotted in 80, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, going to the gymnastics side of it, of course, on the women's side, of course, Simone Biles. Look, she'll tell you that she didn't have her best trials, but she did dominate. She did win her 3rd straight Olympic trials gold. That floor routine was just amazing. But the big story here, who's going to get this spot? With her and Jay Carey, defending champion Suni Lee, who, if you guys know her story, of course, she's had some issues with both her kidneys, in the last year and a half, 2 years. So that's why she had to pull out of competing at Auburn, getting herself healthy. Jordan Childs, of course, the 4 of them were on the Olympic squad last year, and Heavenly Rivera, who's only 16 from New Jersey, gets that 5th spot. They complete the women's Olympic team in the gymnastics.
Yeah, like I told you again before we went on live, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing because I was at the Sox game, but I did see a couple of clips of Jordan Childs. I think she could be the next breakout star in U.S. women's gymnastics. And I know she didn't say this yet. Referring to Simone Biles this being her last Olympics. It looks like it may be, but Jordan Childs, if she sticks with it, she's the future.
Yeah, she's only 19. I know she competed in college, of course. She had some. She's lost various members of her family, but she'll be able to bounce back. She always keeps the crowd going. She has so much energy. So that'll be.
That's what I like about her. She has a full of energy.
Yeah, she is a little ball of energy. Now, on the men's side, of course, we talked about him forever. Frederick Richard. He wants to be Frederick now, folks. I know he got a little upset when people call him Fred. He wants to be Frederick now. Okay, Frederick Richard. Winning his second national title, of course, he won the U.S. trials. Brady Malone. I like the men's chance. I think the men, they got a great team as well. I think they got a good shot because they have not won a men's any type of team medal since 2008. So I think the men have a good shot of winning some medals in Paris this time.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from the men's gymnastics team. Some are winning big medals in these last 2-3 Olympics. So hopefully things will turn around here. Hopefully you have 1 or 2 breakout stars coming from that camp.
They got the guys to do it, so hopefully it can do that. It's gonna be 40 years since the U.S. last won a gold in the men's team event. They just actually honored a lot of those guys from that team. They all look good. I mean, look, Bart Cotter looks terrific. Tim Daggett, who's been doing television, gymnastics for NBC for many years, he still looks good. A lot of those guys are still look great now. They can still compete. So. Feeling old, saying that just now.
I think we both can say that we're both feeling old.
Yeah, but of course we got 25 days to say for the Olympics, for the opening ceremony start on Friday in Paris. So we're gonna be talking about that a little a little bit as Olympics come. But yeah, it should be fun as usual. I think we got a great team of great mix of veterans and young stars. So hopefully we'll be bringing in home some big medals for the U.S.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. We'll get into a little sports media news coming up in just a second. But Lakina, today starts you and my late mother will definitely be watching this. I know you'll be watching this. But Wimbledon, the men's and the women's tournament starts today over there in Paris, France. Who should we be watching for, and who's your favorite to win in the men's and in the women's department as far as the annual women's tennis tournament?
Yeah, over
Wimbledon tennis tournament.
Yeah, I'll say at the All England long and
English. I said Paris, France. Bad of me. Bad as English is. Come on.
You got the Olympics on the brains. It's okay. It's about a couple hours outside of London. And I'm looking at Coco Gauff's match. Like she's gonna finish up her first round match. You gotta think she's gonna be a favorite. Of course, Iga Swiatek. You gotta think she's a favorite as well. It's pretty wide open. I see Danielle Collins is back competing, so we'll see how she does on the men's side. Look, I think Carlos Alcaraz won this a couple years ago. You gotta think he's gonna be the favorite, especially now that he's since Giannis Skinner. Of course, he's I'm sure he wants to bounce back from that loss in the French. He's not going to be very happy. And, of course, Novak's saying, hey, look, don't forget about me. I'm still here. Don't get it twisted. So I think both the men's and women's are pretty wide open this year, I feel like. So, yeah, it should be fun. Of course, you can watch the coverage on the ESPN networks all this week. And, of course, on ESPN Plus as well. So, yeah, you guys check that out, too.
I got love for Coco Gauff, and I'm rooting for her. But is my girl Massey Keys in the tournament this year?
She's in it.
All right. All right. So
yeah,
I got something else to watch.
Of course, she got all the way to the quarterfinals of the French. So, I think she, like I said, she's had some injuries the last year, but it looks like she's starting to kind of get going. She won a couple of warm-up tournaments, so I think she definitely does have a shot, perhaps maybe going far. Like I said, it's really going to depend on how her draw maps out. But yeah, I think she can challenge. I think she can make some inroads here. We'll see.
All right, let's go into some sports media news real quick. We won't get into the other part, but TNT is adding more. As we all know that next season will be TNT's last season covering the NBA full time, but they added some college basketball to their schedule to fill the void of losing the NBA. And now they're going to be adding some Mountain West football on their sister network, True TV. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, I just saw that. They just had the press release. I just saw that. Yeah, I guess they're trying, like I said, they're trying to fill the void. And look, they got the Big East. That was made official with them. Fox is still going to be the top go at it, but of course, TNT will be showing games as well on both the men's and women's side. Now, I just saw that across the wires. They're going to be doing some Mountain West football as well, but I think it's also going to be sub-licensed on CBS. So I guess they're just getting some of the games that CBS, doesn't have room in their lineup. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to kind of shake out there. But yeah, I don't know if this is going to fill the void left by the NBA, but I guess they're trying to, remember too, they still got that new streaming service they're going to be launching with Fox and NBC. So that's going to be, they need inventory to kind of sell it to the advertisers. So this should definitely help those two sports.
And continuing with the sports media news, we like to say get well soon to our good friends at CHGO. I know they had a bus ride to last Saturday's Cubs Milwaukee's game at Miller Park. I'll call it, not that new name now, but a couple of our colleagues were injured but not seriously hurt. Nicholas Moreno, who covers the Bears for CHGO, I think Luke Stuckmeyer was up there as well. Of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, that stadium, which I would refer to as Miller Park, not that new name, they had an escalator accident. Several people were injured, but no life-threatening injuries, and it looks like everybody is going to be okay. But it was just I read that last Saturday I got home for the Sox game. It was like you don't want anybody to go through any experiences like that, but it looks like everybody's from that was affected, who was affected by that situation. So it looks like they're going to be okay.
Yeah, just some bumps and bruises for what I heard. I know there was a guy that he kind of like had like a pinched nerve. So yeah, it was just yeah. I think like this escalator kind of malfunctioned, and I know they talked about it during the FS1 telecast. So thankfully everyone's okay. Nothing nothing too serious or life threatening. Just like I said, just some bumps and bruises. So that was I'm sure that had to have been very scary. The folks that went through that, but yeah, that you know. Interesting story to tell. They're gonna have some stories to tell there. Hopefully, like thankfully, everyone's okay.
Mhm.
That's the important thing.
And back to ESPN, they reportedly will give up some regular season NBA rights for increased digital international rights.
Yeah, just to kind of like try to get it going here and perhaps maybe get themselves underneath the money cap of that. So yeah, I'm sure there are going to be some licensing and such, and I'm sure there's still you're still going to be hearing some of the folks there calling the games. It's just going to be they're just licensing it, which is sometimes that happens with ESPN, especially with the international rights. They did it with soccer for a long time. They're doing it with tennis now, so yeah, not a big
Mhm.
surprise that's happening with on the NBA front.
And one more piece of news regarding ESPN: 25-year longtime anchor John Anderson
Yeah.
did his last Sports Center last Friday night. He's going to be a professor now at his alma mater, the University of Missouri.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that over the a couple of months ago. Yeah, well, good for him. I think look with all the stuff that's been going on with ESPN, all the weirdness there. I'm glad that look he's been doing this for 25 years. He and Steve Levy, of course, who even Steve Levy has said that he hasn't done a Friday night Sports Center in years because he's usually calling games and doing
Hmm.
NHL. But that was really funny. And the Levy Lounge, that could be an idea for a podcast. Leaves, just saying, that could be a cool idea for ESPN podcast. But I digress. But yeah, that was pretty cool that they shared a lot of his favorite moments and stuff. I mean, 25 years, my goodness. So, but yeah, I mean, good luck to him. Like I say, he's gonna be look. He met his wife there, so they're going back to alma mater, and good for him. And yeah, happy retirement. Well, he's not retired. Well, he's retired from ESPN. He's not retired from working. He's still gonna be
Hmm.
working. He's gonna be doing teaching because all you guys that's gonna be taking his classes there. Make sure you listen to him. Take all the advice that you can get from him.
Yes. And like you said, the craziness about this business, Lakina, any business, but especially this one in particular, not everybody gets to walk out on their own terms. And it looks like
Mm-hmm.
he had a chance to do that with his head held high and with grace and highly respected throughout the industry. So, like you said, job well done, and good luck to him on his next chapter in his career.
Definitely, and of course, Coco Gauff. Oh, sorry, I got a little distracted first. But Coco Gauff did officially win her first round match. So, like I said, um, to finish up the night over at Wimbledon. So, you guys can catch the action well for the next 2 weeks on the ESPN family of networks and also on ESPN Plus.
All right, Lakina, around this time, as you're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition of Sports Zone Chicago, still Lakina here with you. Usually around this time, we like to put a nice little bow on our Monday episode, and we usually do this segment with it's been catching fire over the last almost 2 years, Lakina, 2 years full
Just
time, as
about.
we call
Just about.
old school TV. Yep, as we call old school TV Monday. This week, the anniversary of this moment took place. It took place 20 years ago this past Saturday in Los Angeles. And yes, and I saw this clip yesterday on my Instagram feed. And yes, I am talking about the BET Awards of 2004. It took place at the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, California, June 29th, 2004. The awards recognize Americans in music, acting, sports, and other fields of entertainment over that past year. The comedian Monique hosted the event for the second time. Performances for that award show, for that BET Award Show 2004, included Kanye West featuring Yolanda Adams and Jesus Walks, Outkast and Roses, Alicia Keys, NDRE, Jay-Z, featuring Kid Rock, Dave Navarro, Sheila E., Rick Rubin, Questlove, and Janet Jackson, featuring Elephant Man. And it had the Hip Hop 25th anniversary celebration at the time, featuring the Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, MC Light, Slick Rick, Ducky Fresh, Public Enemy, Snooki Norfolk, and a special performance by the Isley Brothers. And of course, the biggest moment from that show, looking, I'm sure you remember this as well. Rick James, of course, he was brought back to life at that time by famous comedian Dave Chappelle when he had his show on Comedy Central. Rick James did a special performance with Tina Marie. Of course, Tina Marie passed away a few years later. Rick James, who were passed away unfortunately 2 months later after that performance. They did fire design there, and they had the whole crowd up on their feet. It was a beautiful performance, and of course, Rick James came out on stage at the end of that performance and said, "I'm Rick James, bitch," and the crowd went crazy. So that was one of the biggest moment of that BET Awards 2004 show. Remember the year before King, when they started, they had the famous James Brown, Michael Jackson dance off, which I thought was the greatest moment of that show as well. But the Rick James moment really doubled that very next year.
Yeah, especially like you said, because Rich James would pass away not too long after that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it was some of the big winners. There were Outkast, of course. They had won album of the year at the Grammys, a few months prior for Speaker Box Love Below. I mean,
Mhm.
one of those sort of things where you're just like, it was probably one of the few times where, like, I guess the BET Awards were still like one of the better award shows to watch at the time. I know there was one yesterday. I didn't watch a single minute of it because like I said,
Didn't either.
I don't really care, but I guess Usher, they honor him with, I guess, the Legend Award, and I guess a lot of his speech got bleeped, but okay. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Yeah, but like I think with this one, I think a lot of the clips, if not the whole thing, is on YouTube. So yeah, this
Yeah,
is
the whole
actually
show's on YouTube. Yes.
yeah, so yeah, this is actually one of the few, one of the last years of the BET Awards. That actually it was must see TV. So yeah, that
Mhm.
was a fun moment as well. But yeah, 20 years. But yeah, you look at some of the people that were there at the time. Yeah, was one of the biggest hits at that time. One album of the year, of course, this was when Beyonce first started, being making a name for herself as a solo artist.
Mhm.
So that was yeah. I mean it was like I said, the Isley Brothers, of course, lifetime they won a lifetime achievement award. So yeah, it was a good award show. Like I said, it was actually, like I said, it was back when it was must see.
Yes. I think it was one of the last award shows that I watched as well. And like I said, award shows all across the board are usually boring and lack of life. But like I said, this is when BET Awards got started back then. Of course, remember a couple years before they signed that deal with Viacom after Bob Johnson sold it to him. So they were in the competition along with Soul Train and, of course, the MTV Awards. So the award show season really got crowded in that field there. But as you mentioned, some of the award winners from that night: Video of the Year, Outkast for Hey Ya; Viewer's Choice Award, Usher for Yeah, featuring Ludacris and Little John; Best Collaboration, you mentioned Beyonce for Crazy in Love with Jay-Z, her husband; Best New Artist, Kanye West; Best Group, Outkast; Best Gospel Artist, Yolanda Adams; Best Female Hip Hop Artist, Missy Elliott; Best Male Hip Hop Artist, Jay-Z; Best Female R&B Artist, Beyonce; Best Male R&B Artist, Usher; Best Actress, Halle Berry; Best Actor, Denzel Washington; Female Athlete of the Year, Serena Williams; and Best Male Athlete, LeBron James. And of course, you mentioned the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Isley Brothers, and the Humanitarian Award went to Danny Glover.
All right. And so, as we salute Old School TV Monday, we salute the 2004 BET Awards. And of course, the Euros, they're coming on right now. You got the knockout rounds. England pulled it off against Slovenia. Slovakia, I should say. And of course, France was able to pull it out against Belgium. You got Portugal and Slovenia. I get these Eastern European countries mixed up in that whole region, but they're playing Slovenia right now as we speak. So check that out on Fox as well. And of course, WNBA, of course, congrats to Angel Reese. The 12th the 12th double for her. She now has the lead by herself. Of course, unfortunately, the Sky will lose to the Lynx, but Minnesota Lynx. But yeah, they stayed with them for a little bit. So of course, Caitlin Clark, they defeated and the Fever, they defeated Diana Taurasi and the Mercury. So yeah, WNBA action still going on right now. Excuse me. You got Dallas and Seattle. That'll be on NBA TV coming up tonight.
All right, Lakina, take us home.
You follow my Kina McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more time, as Lakina would say, be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Of course, you can Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Of course, if you got Roku TV app, wherever you get your apps, wherever you have it downloaded on your devices, go to the App Store, type in Sports Zone Chicago on the Roku TV app. You can catch our show, replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, and a whole lot more. Of course, you get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
And we will provide.
All right, so we will be back on Wednesday with all the, with how the 4th of July falls this year. It's on a Wednesday. So,
yeah, no Friday show, folks. No Friday show. We'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, so any, big news that comes across the pike, comes to, will DeMar get traded? Will the Hawks make even more moves? So, yeah, it's all right there for you, and we'll see if Angel Reese breaks another record during that time. But yeah, so you catch us on Wednesday. Remember, on Wednesday for especially Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, right here on Sports Chicago's Facebook and YouTube app. So for Sid, I'm Lakina. Enjoy all the great weather that's going on right now, and be good to each other. Be safe, and we'll see you guys Wednesday.
I'm Rick James. Trick, holla.